What's going on, guys? My name's Josh and I'm back today with another Shining Vale video. So the Shining Vale finale for season 1 was just a few days ago, and after the finale I actually have a ton of unanswered questions that I'm hoping we get answered to if we do get a season 2. As of right now, the show has not been renewed for season 2, but I'm definitely hopeful that we're gonna get another season because this show is awesome and I've been loving it. So before we get started, if you could do me a huge favor, please like this video, and if you've been enjoying these Shining Vale episode recaps, can you do me a huge favor? If you're not already, can you subscribe to my channel? I definitely would appreciate your support. I actually just hit 500 subscribers, a week ago, and it was a big milestone for me, but my next goal is going to be 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, if you've been liking these videos, I definitely would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. Now, you better watch out because it's time to get this video started. Let's go. So yes, guys, we've all had now a few days to digest that awesome season 1 finale of Shining Vale. I feel like the finale was awesome. It left us in a good spot and it really hooked me, where I am definitely looking forward to season 2. There's a lot of questions that I have unanswered. Yeah, and I'm very hopeful that we will get a season 2. Now, one thing I do want to mention and so no official announcement about season 2 just yet, but there was a quote from the series creator Jeff Astrof, and he pretty much stated in a Bleeding Cool interview, he said, "I'm not allowed to announce anything, but I have suspicions that we'll be able to tell the next chapter of this." So it sounds like, nothing's official yet, but he's very, very hopeful that we're going to get a next season of Shining Vale, which I'm excited for. And I feel like the reviews for this show generally have been really positive. Most people have really liked this show, but I just think it's a word of mouth thing. So even when I started doing these episode recaps, I feel like no one was really watching the first couple, but as the shows went on, more and more people have been watching my recap, so I can tell that's the same thing. Now that people are watching the show, people are really getting into it. It's a great show, so I just think, just give it a little time. It's definitely getting its audience. It's definitely finding its footing, and I feel like season 2 is, we just have a lot of potential for season 2, so I really firmly believe that we will get a season 2, and so now I want to go into what questions do we have going into season 2, because, like I said, that finale was crazy. So the first big question I have is, who or what is Rosemary? So the way the season ended, we see, Pat being taken away into kind of like the Shining Vale psychiatric hold, and we see a picture on the wall, and it's pretty much saying it was in 1859 and it was home for hysterical women, and it was Pat's, the Phelps home. And we see in that picture, it looks like Rosemary's in the picture. So this is really confusing, and I don't think this is meant to be answered in the finale. I think this is going to be answered in, season 2. But that begs the question, who or what is Rosemary? So we all thought watching the season that Rosemary was a housewife in the 50s who kind of murdered her family, and that was the real Rosemary. But then seeing this picture, it shows that Rosemary was alive in 1859. If that is Rosemary, maybe that could be, a relative of Rosemary, but just looking at it, it almost seems like that was Rosemary. So how is Rosemary alive in 1859, but then she's also a 50s housewife? So there's definitely some mystery there, and it begs the question, like, who or what is Rosemary? Is she a demon? Is she a ghost? My theory, just my theory, and this could be completely wrong, is I think maybe the real Rosemary lived in 1859, and she was, working at this home for hysterical women, which I think back then, that home for hysterical women was more like a kind of almost like a psychiatric hospital. A lot of times there's a really a messed up history for hysterical women, like the history of that, where they wouldn't treat women's problems seriously. If a woman was saying, something was wrong, they would just kind of treat her as hysterical. And it almost seems like this hospital that was at the Pat Phelps or the Phelps home might have been like kind of like a psychiatric hospital. And my guess is there's probably a messed up history as far as what was going on, in their home. And we know that this Rosemary, or the picture of Rosemary, she was working there. So my guess is something really messed up maybe happened there, and maybe that's what caused the house to be haunted. And I don't know. I just don't know if the real Rosemary lived at that point. But then it's like, what about the 50s? Rosemary was supposed to live in the 50s and she murdered her family. Was that really Rosemary? Or maybe that was another woman and then maybe this Rosemary, the original Rosemary, possessed another woman similar, like she possessed, was trying to possess Pat. But then maybe, and the difference is, the other woman in the 50s, maybe, Rosemary got that woman to kill all her family, kind of like what she was trying to do with Pat. But because Pat has such a dominant personality, she's so strong-willed, Rosemary was having a really hard time controlling Pat. She wanted her to kill her family, but Pat wouldn't do it. So I feel like it was a battle of wills, and Rosemary couldn't control Pat. Like maybe she could have controlled maybe this original 50s housewife. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the original Rosemary was living in 1859, and, that's kind of my theory. And I don't think, Rosemary was alive in the 50s. I think she possessed someone else, similar to Pat. That's my guess. But I guess I definitely don't think this was answered, in the finale. It definitely leaves us guessing. And this is definitely going to be answered in, I would imagine, season 2. We're going to find out the home's history and more about this hospital for hysterical women. Now, next question I have, is Terry okay? So the way the episode ended, or the series finale ended, Pat, hit Terry with the axe. He kind of goes down the stairs. At first, I really thought he died, but then when Gaynor comes up, Pat pretty much says, like, oh, he's breathing. He's alive, or something. She says something like that. So I do think Terry is alive. I don't think he's dead, but I definitely originally thought he was dead, and I just would like to know how Terry's doing. I really hope he's okay. I hope he didn't get killed. I love Terry's character, and I definitely want to see him back for season 2. And now it's kind of like, how is he going to handle all of this? One, Pat cheated on him, with Blake. Then Pat hit him with an axe. And now she's in the mental hospital. Is Terry going to stick by Pat during this time? Or is he going to finally give up and get a divorce from Pat? Maybe get with Catherine? I really want to see their relationship in, season 2. I just felt like season 1 was really focused on their marriage and how they were doing. We saw in the beginning of the season, it was kind of definitely bad. Pat had just cheating on Terry, and we kind of see them work on their marriage all through season 1, and it was getting better, and it seemed like they were happy, but then the end, it just ended. So, like, as a disaster, will Terry stick with Pat, or is he going to get a divorce from her? I'm definitely looking forward to, finding out more about their relationship in season 2. Now, next, Pat. Oh my God, Pat is now locked up in a psychiatric hospital. How the heck is she going to get out of this one? And, like, we know as the audience that, Rosemary's trying to possess her, but to the outside world, they just think Pat's crazy, which is sad because Pat is, really trying to show hey, I'm, being, possessed here, and no one believes her. Then this is also really big is, Rosemary can only possess Pat if Pat is on her medication. Now, Pat isn't in a psychiatric hospital, so she's going to be forced to take medication, which means Rosemary is going to be able to possess Pat, and Pat is, because she's forced on medication, she's not going to be able to get rid of Rosemary. Rosemary is going to continue to possess Pat because Pat is forced to be on this medication. So I don't know how Pat's going to prove that, she's not crazy if she's forced to take this medication and Rosemary keeps coming out. And I definitely think there's a lot. I'm really looking forward to, that as far as that goes, and how she's going to get out and how the world's going to view her. Also, what about Pat's book? Pat was so close to writing her book. And even with her editor, Cam, everything was writing on this last chapter. She didn't really finish it in the finale. So what happened with her book deal? Does Pat get fired? Did she lose her book deal? Or did Cam like the ending and they still published the book? I kind of want to know, what's going to happen with Pat's writing career? Because that was a big focus as well for Pat. Next question is, what about Gaynor? So the finale, we thought that Gaynor could be pregnant. She talked about running away with Ryan to, LA. Is she pregnant? Did she run away with, Ryan, or, did she stay in Shining Vale? And, what's going on with her? How's her relationship going to be with Pat now that she had her committed? It kind of went full circle, kind of like how Pat committed her mom, Gaynor committed Pat. So I know that was a really emotional spot, and how's her relationship going to be after this? And what's going on with Jake? If Gaynor leaves and goes to LA, who's going to take care of Jake? I'm assuming that, Terry probably went to the hospital and Terry, he's going to take care of Jake, and then maybe Gaynor's going to still go to LA. But definitely there's a ton of unanswered questions for season 2. I think the main question though is the home's history. We definitely need to find out how this home got haunted, what happened in 1859, I think it was June 23rd, 1859, at this home for hysterical women. Like I said, though, I'm definitely hooked. I'm definitely looking forward to a season 2. What questions, though, do you guys have going into season 2 that you want answered? I feel like it just left me really hooked. And either way, though, please leave your comments below. I would love to talk to you guys about this. And thank you for watching.